My brother showed up at my door, sober for the first time in years. "I know I screwed up," he said, voice shaking. "But I need your help." I crossed my arms. "Why should I believe you?" He pulled out a rehab admission form, already signed. His eyes were red, his hands trembling. "Because this time, I'm really trying." I took a deep breath, opened the door wider, and whispered, "Then let's start over." It was a rainy Thursday evening in Seattle, the kind where the sky weeps and the streets glisten with reflections of streetlights. I was sipping lukewarm coffee, the kind that had been reheated one too many times, when I heard a knock at the door. Opening it, I was met with a sight I hadn't seen in years: my brother Jake. He looked thinner, his eyes sunken, but there was a clarity in them that hadn't been there before. "I know I screwed up," he said, his voice trembling. "But I need your help." I crossed my arms, skepticism evident. "Why should I believe you?" He pulled out a rehab admission form, already signed. His eyes were red, his hands trembling. "Because this time, I'm really trying." I took a deep breath, memories of our childhood flooding back. I opened the door wider and whispered, "Then let's start over." Jake and I grew up in a modest home in Tacoma. Our parents were hardworking, but Jake always had a rebellious streak. While I pursued academics, Jake found solace in parties and the wrong crowd. By the time he was 20, he was deep into drugs. Our family tried interventions, therapy, even tough love. Nothing worked. The last time I saw him was 5 years ago when he stole from our parents and disappeared. Jake's first few weeks in rehab were tough. He battled withdrawal, guilt, and the weight of his past actions. I visited him every weekend, bringing him books and words of encouragement. One day, he handed me a letter. "For Mom and Dad," he said. "I need to apologize." I read the letter that night. It was raw, filled with remorse and a genuine desire to make amends. 3 months into his recovery, Jake relapsed. He showed up at my apartment, high and incoherent. I was furious. "You promised." I shouted. "I'm sorry," he sobbed. "I messed up. I wanted to throw him out, to give up. But I remembered the letter, his efforts, and the fact that recovery isn't linear." Jake checked himself back into rehab, this time with renewed determination. He attended every session, joined support groups, and even started mentoring newcomers. 6 months later, he was sober, healthier, and more focused than ever. Jake stood before our parents, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry for the pain I've caused," he said. "I can't change the past, but I promise to be better." Our parents embraced him, the weight of years of pain slowly lifting. Jake enrolled in community college, aiming to become a counselor. He wanted to help others avoid the path he took. We started spending more time together, rebuilding our bond. From fishing trips to late-night talks, we were brothers again. One evening, Jake received news that a close friend from rehab had overdosed. It shook him. "I can't do this," he said, contemplating quitting his studies. "You can't," I told him. "Use this pain to fuel your purpose." Jake graduated with honors and secured a job at a local counseling center. He became a beacon of hope for many, sharing his story and guiding others towards recovery. Sitting on my porch, watching the sunset, Jake turned to me. "Thank you for believing in me," he said. I smiled. "You did the hard work. I'm just glad I opened the door that day." Life isn't a straight path. It's filled with twists, turns, setbacks, and comebacks. Jake's journey taught me the power of second chances, the importance of support, and the resilience of the human spirit. 3 months after Jake started his job as a counselor, a woman came to his office. Late 30s, dark hair, nervous eyes. Her name was Marcy. "I'm here for help," she whispered. "But also because I think I know you." Jake blinked, confused. "I'm sorry. You were with my brother the night he overdosed," she said, voice tightening. "You left him there." Jake's face turned pale. He stood, heart thudding in his chest. I didn't know he was that bad." He said he was fine. Marcy shook her head, her hands trembling. "You walked out. He texted me after you left. He begged for help, and I didn't see the message until it was too late." Jake slumped back into his chair, gutted. "I didn't know. I swear. I thought he was sleeping it off." Marcy stood up. "I came here to see if you even remembered him. Guess I got my answer." She walked out without looking back. After Marcy's visit, something changed in Jake. He started skipping meals. Lost weight. His smile faded. One night, he didn't show up for our weekly dinner. I drove to his apartment. The lights were off, but his truck was in the lot. I knocked. No answer. Panic rising, I used the spare key he'd given me. The apartment was a mess. Papers everywhere, fridge empty, the air stale. I found him curled up on the couch, empty bottle of whiskey on the floor, tears streaking his face. I screwed up again, he whispered. Maybe I'm just not built for this. I stayed the night. I watched him sleep, twitching, mumbling names in his sleep. In the morning, I made coffee and sat beside him. You're not perfect, I said. But you're not the kid who ran away anymore. You've changed lives. Jake stared into his cup. But I couldn't save him. And now his sister hates me. You didn't kill him. Addiction did, I said. The world is full of pain. You just forgot to protect your heart. Jake looked up, eyes red. Then how do I keep going? I didn't have a perfect answer. But I said, one day at a time. Weeks passed. Jake got back to work, but it wasn't the same. He was colder, distant. Then, one day, Marcy showed up at my door. I need to talk to him, she said. I thought I could just walk away, but I can't. He looked so broken. I called Jake. He refused to come. So I drove her to the counseling center myself. Jake was at his desk when we arrived. His eyes met Marcy's, and for a second, it looked like he might run. But he didn't. I didn't come here to yell, she said. I came to say, I get it now. I found his journal. Jake looked up. He blamed himself for everything. I blamed you because it was easier. She handed Jake a folded page. He wrote about you. Said you were the only one who ever made him feel like maybe he deserved better. Jake's lip quivered. He held the paper like it was made of glass. Marcy stood. You're not the villain. You're just human. Like me. After Marcy left, Jake started having nightmares again. This time, they were about our father. Dad died 2 years ago, heart attack. But Jake never got to say goodbye. One night, Jake showed up at my door, holding a shoebox. I found this in storage, he said. Inside were old photos, letters, and one envelope labeled for Jake. He opened it slowly. Dad's handwriting was shaky, but clear. Son, I don't know where you are, or if this will ever reach you. But I want you to know, I never stopped believing you could come back. And if you do, don't waste time blaming yourself. Jake sat on my floor, clutching that letter like a lifeline. Just when I thought we were turning a corner, the twist came. Jake got a call from an old friend, Paul. Clean for 4 years. Had a wife, a baby girl. Come down to Portland, Paul said. It's my kid's birthday. Would mean the world. Jake was hesitant, but he went. He came back 3 days later, shaken. They were using, he said. Everyone. Even Paul. He'd walked in on a party, not a birthday. I barely made it out without drinking, he said. I left while they laughed. Said I was a joke now. He tossed a lighter across the room. That was supposed to be my last connection to the past. Jake quit his job. He said he needed time to figure things out. I was scared. When people in recovery isolate, it's dangerous. But he didn't relapse. Instead, he started volunteering at the homeless shelter downtown. Quietly. No titles. No speeches. Just showed up every morning, made coffee, handed out blankets, and listened. He didn't talk about his past. He just listened to theirs. In December, the shelter caught fire. Electrical fault. No one died, but everything was gone. Jake was there. He ran back in twice, once to get an old man's inhaler, and once to pull out a stray dog someone had brought in. He ended up in the hospital with burns on his arms. The news ran apiece. Former addict saves lives in shelter fire. People started sending letters. Former clients. Strangers. Even Marcy. You're stronger than most, she wrote. And that scares people. But it also saves them. Last week, Jake got a call. A small recovery center in Spokane had heard about him. They wanted to offer him a director position. I'm not a hero, he said to me. No, I replied. You're something better. You're real. Jake was preparing to move to Spokane. Boxes lined his apartment. He'd shaved, started jogging every morning. He was healing. Then it happened. At one of his last local recovery meetings, a new face appeared. Late 40s, tall, long leather coat. Sat in the back. Didn't speak. After the meeting, Jake found a note on his windshield. You left me behind once. I'm still watching. He brought it to me that night, hands shaking. I think it's someone from the old crew. Maybe Vegas. I don't know. I hadn't heard Jake talk about Vegas in years. But when he did, it was always with a haunted look. You think this is real? I asked. Jake nodded. I got into some real bad stuff there before I came back. I owed people. Jake sat on my couch and told me things I didn't want to hear. He used to run drugs for a man named Ray Navarro. Ray owned clubs in downtown Vegas, moved weight out the back, laundered money through recovery retreats that weren't real. Jake was just a mule. But one night, he stole a small bag of pills and ran. It was either that or overdose himself. He changed his name for a year, went off-grid. Thought it was buried. It wasn't just the cops I ran from, he said quietly. It was them. Now it seemed someone had found him. A week later, Jake's truck exploded. He'd parked outside a late-night diner we always went to. Thankfully, he was inside when it happened. Cops ruled it as suspicious. Jake told them he had enemies from his past, but no names. No proof. They shrugged. He moved into my house the next day. I thought this part of my life was over, he muttered, staring out the window. It is, I said. This is just the ghost of it. I hired someone. Old high school buddy of mine. Brandon. Used to be a sheriff's deputy. Now did private work out of Olympia. He dug into Vegas. Within days, he found out Ray Navarro was under federal watch. Hadn't been seen in months. But his cousin Marco still ran small-time collections in the Northwest. Jake froze when he heard the name. Marco was worse, he said. Ray would beat you. Marco would burn your family's house down. Brandon leaned in. You've got one option. Go to the feds. Now. Jake hesitated. Then he said, I'm not running this time. Jake met with a federal agent in Seattle. He told them everything, names, locations, the Vegas network. He offered full cooperation, testimony. In exchange, he wanted protection and the chance to move forward with the spoken job. The feds didn't make promises, but they were interested. Jake spent the next 3 weeks helping them map the network. Sleepless nights. Phone calls at odd hours. Flashbacks. At one point, he broke down in my kitchen. I'm scared, he said. But this is the only way to kill it for good. Then the leak happened. Someone in the federal office leaked Jake's cooperation to the wrong hands. Jake's name ended up on a dark web forum tied to Navarro's old network. A bounty was posted, $25,000 for info on Jake's location. The feds moved fast. Jake was pulled into temporary protective custody. I didn't sleep for days. They gave him a new identity, a different name, a new address out of state. But Jake refused. I'm not running, he told them. I'll go testify, but I want my real name back after. One night, Brandon called me. Someone's been watching your house, he said. I looked outside. No cars. No movement. But I believed him. Brandon came over the next day. Armed. Stayed on my couch. Until Jake testifies, no one gets through us, he said. I nodded. We finished what he started. Jake finally testified. Spokane. Federal courtroom. 2 marshals at his side. Ray Navarro wasn't there, but 5 of his people were. Cold faces. Stone eyes. Jake spoke for 6 hours straight. Names. Deals. Deaths. I watched from the gallery. His hands never stopped shaking, but his voice never cracked. When he finished, the judge asked, Do you regret your role in all this? Jake said, Every day, but regret doesn't fix the damage. Truth does. After the trial, Navarro's network started to crumble. Jake was cleared to move to Spokane, but he didn't. Instead, he opened a small recovery program in Tacoma. Low-key, quiet, no name on the door. He said he didn't need fame. He just wanted peace. But the threats? They never fully stopped. We still get strange calls. Weird cars parked too long. But we also get letters from people Jake's helped. He keeps them in a box by his bed. Last week, Jake handed me a letter. It had no return address. Inside was a photo of Jake and Paul, taken years ago, back when things were good. On the back, someone had scribbled, You walked through hell. Keep going. Jake framed it. It was a cold night in early March. Rain hit the windows sideways. I was alone. Jake had gone on a silent retreat with his recovery group. At around 2 a.m., someone rang the doorbell. I checked the camera. A man in a hood stood there, barely lit by the porch light. He didn't knock again. I called Brandon, fast. Then I locked every door and waited with a baseball bat. The man left before the cops arrived. But he left something behind, a small matchbook. From a club in Vegas. The Ember Room. A message was written inside. We don't forget. Jake came back the next day. I showed him the matchbook. He stared at it, silent for a long time. Then he said something I never expected. I need to go back. Are you crazy? I asked. I need to end this. I know who they are. I know how to get in. If I stay here, you get hurt. Mom's grave gets vandalized. This doesn't stop until I stop it. I knew it was reckless. But something in his eyes told me he wasn't asking for permission. We drove together. Jake said if he was going down, I wasn't going to sit on the sidelines. We found the Ember Room, still running, still dirty. Jake walked in like he had every right to. A man behind the bar locked eyes with him, then smirked. Back from the dead, huh? Jake sat down. Calm. Still. You want me, he said. I'm right here. But you've got a problem. What's that? Jake leaned in. I made a copy of everything. Names. Routes. Ties to cops. It's somewhere safe. If I die, it goes public. The bartender blinked. For the first time, he looked nervous. Jake stood. So tell your boss, we're even. Or he burns. But it didn't end there. That night, Jake was jumped in the motel parking lot. They didn't kill him, but they left a warning. A broken hand. A missing fingernail. A scar down his side. I drove him back to Washington. He was quiet the whole way. Blood on his shirt. Jaw clenched. When we got home, he said one thing. No more warnings. Jake had a plan. He knew one of Ray Navarro's lieutenants still lived in Spokane, hidden under a new name. The man who sent the goons. Jake baited him, left a fake trail, fake emails, pretending he wanted back in. The guy took the bait. Showed up at an abandoned rest stop just outside Yakima. Jake was waiting with Brandon. The man came alone, cocky. Jake pulled out a recorder. Confess, he said. Or I send the files anyway. The man laughed. Brandon stepped out from the shadows. Gun in hand. The man's face changed. He talked. 30 minutes of names, details, corruption, all of it. Jake sent the tapes to the feds. This time, they listened. Raids. Arrests. Navarro's network cracked in half overnight. But not before 2 more people were killed, one of them a mother who had once testified. Jake was wrecked. Did I cause this? He asked me. I looked him in the eyes. No. But you ended it. Weeks later, Jake got a call from an untraceable number. Ray Navarro. You think you're a hero, the voice said. You think the blood's not on your hands too? You were one of us. Jake didn't yell. He didn't cry. He said, I know. That's why I'll carry it. But you'll rot in a hole you built yourself. He hung up. Then we burned every piece of evidence we had left, every notebook, every printed map. All of it. This is where I admit something. When Jake disappeared all those years ago, I didn't just cut ties, I told the cops about him. I gave them his location once, hoping they'd pick him up, hoping they'd scare him straight. They didn't. But word got back to Jake. He never told me until now. You sold me out, he said one night. But I understand. You thought I was already gone. I did, I whispered. And I'll regret that forever. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. But he nodded. And that was enough. Jake lives quiet now. No social media. No headlines. He speaks at prisons sometimes. Tells them the truth. About running. About guilt. About blood that never washes clean. Me? I stay close. I help run the center now. We have a wall of names. People who made it. And people who didn't. Jake added Paul's name with a silver marker. Underneath it, he wrote, he mattered. 1 year later, the Ember Room burned down. They called it an electrical fire. Jake smiled when he heard. Brandon didn't say anything, but he poured us each a drink and raised his glass. To ghosts. Jake toasted. And to fire that doesn't forgive. We all made mistakes. Jake, forever joining them. Me, for turning him in out of fear. Brandon, for what he did the night the Ember Room burned. We don't ask questions. But we live with the truth. No one comes out clean. But some of us come out alive. And sometimes, that's enough.